Hi, it's Jo from Minerva. Today I want to take a little look at the jumpsuit. So I'm going to look at some of the fitting issues you might have with a jumpsuit. I want to take a look at some more different patterns of different shaped jumpsuits and see which ones are the easiest to fit, which ones are the easiest to make, and which ones you might choose for different occasions. The jumpsuit I'm wearing today is the Atelier Jupe jumpsuit in a viscose. This is Atelier Jupe fabric. It has pockets, an elasticated waist, and a really simple grown-on sleeve. As a first-time jumpsuit, this is a really great place to start because you haven't got to worry too much about the length from shoulder to the bottom of your crotch. You know that the waist fitting will go over your hips to take it on and off, and it has a simple closure of a button at the back. So this is a really good place to start when you want to make a jumpsuit. The jumpsuit I'm currently working on is Burda 6516, which is more of a tailored jumpsuit. So this has belt loops, a belt, inseam pockets, and a zip that runs down the back. So this could be worked in a fabric that's really casual. You could wear it in satin and wear it as an evening jumpsuit. But the fitting on this one is taking a little bit more time because there's pleats in the bodice and the trousers. Also, it's got quite a close fitting armscye, so I'm trying to get that correct. Take a look at some of the alterations I made to the pattern pieces. I made a lot of alterations. I've made this jumpsuit before and it was too tight in the arm here and the back neck gaped out. So the zip was hanging sort of away from my body and I hadn't got the shoulder to waist length correct. You can see on these flat pieces now where I made my alterations. So the armhole was too tight when I made my first one, and I also had quite a gape here on the front armhole. So to change that, I've made a sloping shoulder adjustment. So that slopes down. That didn't quite fix it, and the centre line didn't run straight on my centre front. So I took a small pleat out of there. So I've got rid of the gape on the shoulder and it fits better on the shoulder. I then needed to make sure that the bodice came down to my waist. And of course, if I've taken some out there, I have to put it back. So there's always a payback. And then when I put the two side panels together, I had a gap here where it was pulling out from my larger waist size. I've left a 1 inch seam allowance on the sides, which seems really excessive, but now I can cut this out. I know the shoulder fit's going to be good, the armhole, the neck, but I just need to make sure that I've got some just in case room on the sides. Of course, if you do something to the back, you're going to need the front, you're going to need to do it to the back. So on the back, I had a gape as well. So the sloping shoulder should take that a little bit. I've matched this, especially if you're putting the sleeve in, you'll need to make sure that you've taken the same out of the back and the front. I've got a sway back adjustment, and then I have the amount of fabric here that I need to make up from these two adjustments, which takes it then down to my waist. I had a forward sloping adjustment as well, so there's an extra little bit of fabric in there, so the shoulder seam lies on my shoulder seam. Not all patterns have the same armhole cutout for a sleeve version and a sleeveless. You might find on some patterns the front and back bodice is a different cut for a sleeveless in order to cover your bra band, but it happens on this pattern that view A and view B have the same top. So if you want to make this top with sleeves in, you can just take the pattern from the sleeve pattern from this version and put it on this version. Of course, if you make changes to the top, I'm going to have to now make changes to the trousers. So if you're making alterations for a jumpsuit to fit you, then I've added that extra bit on the waist. I've added that 1 inch seam allowance still and gradually taken that in. So I've got a little bit of room on my hips as well to play with for getting it up over my hips. But I definitely know now that when I put that pleat in, and I put the pleat in the top, that the pleats match up, and I've still got the side seams matching up. I'm quite short in the leg, so I'm going to take 2 pinches out of my trouser. I've got one below the knee and I've got one above the knee. So this one's quite a big one. This one's a little bit smaller. And then I'll just have to true up this seam. And when you do that, don't cut that spare off. You need to true that seam back into the leg. So you might need to do the same on the front trouser piece as well. If you try your tissue fit on, and you pin it together in the seam allowance, and you need to use dressmaking pins, because these small pins won't rip through your paper the same under pressure. My larger ones would just pop through and the little ball would rip holes. So use the small dressmaker's pins, pin the bottoms together and try them on, and you will see then if you need to change anything in the crotch. So this is the back crotch. Now I've got quite a big bottom, so I don't need to change that. But if the waist was dipping down, then I might want to cut this and then slash open. On the front, if you've got a bigger tummy on the front and a flatter bottom, you might need to slash open the front. If you've got a shorter crotch, you might need to take 2 little folds out of this crotch line. But you won't know until you either make a toile, which is expensive for a big jumpsuit, or you just tissue fit this to yourself. So just wear your underwear, pin all this together and try it on and see where this lands. It needs to have its 1.5 seam allowance and then be touching your waist. Probably made it look really complicated to fit a jumpsuit, but that is because I really wanted to improve the fit on something, and I wanted to show you some of the techniques. Let's take a look at some jumpsuit patterns, and you can choose how much you would like to fit or have ease in your jumpsuit. So the jumpsuit that I'm wearing right now is the Alterations L jumpsuit, and this is the one that I've suggested is easy fit and a really great place to start, because it doesn't matter if your body length is a little bit long, because the elastic will naturally sit on your waist and the top will blouse over. You can see this top, the elastic is showing, whereas on mine the top falls over the elastic, and that's because I'm quite short-waisted and I didn't make any adjustments, but it still looks fine. You can see there's a darted bodice, pocket, and it's got cuffed hems. This looks great in a viscose fabric. It would look good in our Minerva exclusive range fabrics, but you could also use light cottons. So this is the easiest pattern you could probably start with. Any pattern where the top is separate to the body is a good place to start. So although patterns that look really casual, like these, it looks really simple and it looks like it's not got a lot of sewing in it, because they're an all-in-one body piece, the fit on those is really critical. So for your first jumpsuit, start with something where the top and the bottom are either elasticated or they have a tie, or the top and the bottom can be fitted separately. This is New Look 6661 and it's got back patch pockets. It's got more of a casual look, a utilitarian look. It looks great with pumps. You can have sleeves or not sleeves, and you can get into that one by buttoning down the front, whereas the Alterations one has a button at the back. You Look 6373 is another one that's has an elasticated waist, or a tied waist, and that's got a flounce on the top. So if you want to just stretch your skills a little bit more, that looks really great in viscose challis or in a crepe fabric. You can make that an evening jumpsuit or a daytime holiday jumpsuit or sunny day one. And you can see here it's got that halfway point where you can make an adjustment to ensure that it's fitting your shoulders and your body length. You can also fit the trousers with a bigger hip if you need to, and change the top vice versa. This is Simplicity 8146, and again it has an elasticated waist for easy fitting, so you can fit the top and the bottom. This has like a string that is the spaghetti strap and gathers around here, so you'll get really easy fitting on the bust with that as well. You're not relying on a bust start or a fitted bodice. And obviously you get the advantage there of some twinning with a children's pattern and a play doll's pattern. So that's Simplicity 8146. If you're sewing for kids, then New Look 6444 is a tweens pattern. So this has got different sizing to children's patterns. It's got an elasticated band across here. And although it says tweens, if you were a small adult size, it goes from age 8 to 16, but the 16-year-old is for a 34-inch chest, which I think is quite big. My daughter's 15 and she would need the 28-inch chest. So if you're an adult in a very petite size, then this would also work for you. Playsuit fitting is the same as jumpsuit fitting. So again, you've got that easy fit cut-off point in the centre. If you've got some good sewing skills, then McCalls 7908 is a really well-fitting jumpsuit. It has more sewing skills. So there is a collar. You've got a front zip, patch pocket, so you'll need some accurate top stitching. You can put the pockets on the inseam as well. It's got a really sort of modern, contemporary feel. Different fabrics for that one, so you'll be able to use firmer, more structured fabric. So a chambray, a denim, a linen, a drill. Any of those fabrics would give it that real boiler suit construction. New Look 6446 is another jumpsuit that is cut at the waist. So although it doesn't look like it, the belt is disguising the cut at the waist. So you absolutely need your waistline to be on your waist, because there's nothing worse than a waistline that doesn't match the belt. So the belt ties around your waist where it naturally sits, but the waistline seam is above or below that. So you'll definitely need to find your waistline when you fit that one. You can see there, you can fit the top and you can fit the bottom. It's got quite a wide leg. You can take it to full length leg or the shorter one, or you could put a skirt on the bottom. So the patterns are getting slightly more difficult to fit and sew as we move along. My next selection are suitable for evening wear. So I saw this pattern, thought it was really interesting. This is McCalls 7402. So it's got a really easy fit around the bottom, really floaty. Real sort of Caribbean holiday vibe going on that one. And it looks like a skirt, but it is a jumpsuit. So you'll need to get the rise right between the crotch and the shoulder seam, but it's not critical because it will be hidden amongst all of those folds of fabric, but you do want it to be comfortable. That one goes from extra small, small, medium, large, extra large, XXL. So that goes up to a size 4, UK size 4, up to a UK size 26. I think that's a really interesting jumpsuit. Get some different fabrics with that. Viscose, crepe de chine and crepe would all look fabulous. This is the pattern I'm making now, which is Burda 6516. it's a fitted jumpsuit with a full zip down the back, so you can get more fitting on this because the zip on the back goes below the waistline. So you can fit the waistline because you're not requiring that to go over your hips to get it on and off. It's a really versatile pattern that can be used for office wear, work wear, party wear, or you can go right up to celebration wear with that, depending on your fabric choice. If you're looking for something a bit more interesting around the back, then this is Simplicity 8635. Really beautiful back detail there, and that's all strung on with spaghetti straps and loops. It's got a simple front bodice. It can be a skirt or a jumpsuit. And you'll get the fitting there by how much you draw the strings through, and you'll be able to fit the top and the bottom separately before you attach them together. If you're looking for more coverage than that last one, then this is an interesting jumpsuit because it's sort of bordering on a dress. It's got full culotte legs fitted with pleats. It's got a different dart seam, so if you need to do a full bust adjustment, you'll be able to do that on there and get a bit more fitting through the bust. This is Vogue Very Easy 9075. There's lots of fit in the hips, but again, you'll be able to fit the body really nicely, so you'll be able to fit the top smaller than the bottom. You'll have a zip running from the back neck down, so you can have a really fitted waist. Here's a real stunner. This is the Zandra Rhodes Vogue pattern, Vogue 1617, a caftan style jumpsuit, so you'll get a lot more fitting ease in this, but sometimes the more ease there is, the trickier it is to get it to look like it fits you. In this case, it looks stunning because it's using the belt to fit the whole lot. So you need to make sure that, again, you measure your waist on your waist and that you get the V where you want the V. It's got those large sleeves, so you're going to need a fabric with lots of drape and movement. And then you'll have to interface the fabric to get that nice thicker fabric around the waist on the tie belt, or you could use a contrast like here. Going to be very deceptive. If I've said to you these jumpsuits are in order of difficulty, then Burdis 6408 doesn't look difficult, and it's not a difficult sew, it's a difficult fit. The long one especially, because it's in one piece, it's darted, so you'll need the darts to be in the right place. The playseat's got a belt around the middle, so you could use the leg length from here and alter it for yourself, but that shape there is really tricky to get right in terms of fit. Simple to sew, trickier to fit, but if you make a toile or you've made one successful one, then that's great because you can make as many as you like then. Here's a similar cut. This is the Style Art Mildred jumpsuit. So it's got a more sort of casual look, but again, you're going to be looking for that rise length from shoulder to crotch. So although it's a simple sew, it's a more difficult fit. I'm just going to show you a Style Art pattern if you've not bought one before or seen one before. This is the instructions. So you don't get an instruction booklet or instruction sheets with descriptions and a photo. You get, this is the set of instructions. You get this bit here which tells you what to do, and you get some construction diagrams. You get one more page with any of the trickier techniques. So these are the instructions for the Style Art pattern. And this is the Mildred jumpsuit. So let's have a think about the fitting for a jumpsuit. So you're going to need your overall rise. So that's from your shoulder through your crotch and back up. So you've got a complete circle here. And if that's feeling tight, then it's going to be pulling up on your bottom and it's going to be too tight for standing up. You also need to test if you can sit down. So if you can sit down and you're getting some slack, that's good. And if you stand up, you want it to be nice and comfortable under the crotch. I've used the full length of my tape measure, which is 60 inches, and that is a touch tight. I would probably need 61, which would give me some movement in the crotch seam. Now that's not the answer. That is an overall sort of ballpark measurement to be working with. So I'm working with 61 inches here. But it really does depend on your body shape. So if you measure just your crotch, this is 29, that's going to give you a ballpark measurement, but it's not going to give you the whole story, because if you've got a larger bottom, then you'll need the crotch room in the back. If you've got a fuller tummy, you'll need the crotch room at the front. And if you're balanced, you can have the crotch seam, that 29 inches will be evenly distributed. So when you measure your back waist to your crotch and your front waist to your crotch out of that overall measurement and compare it to the pattern pieces, you'll get a much better crotch fit. To find out where your waist is, tie a piece of elastic around your waist, and don't put the waist where you would like it, put it where it sits. So sit down, stand up, move around and find where does that piece of elastic sit naturally, and use that as your waistline marking and compare that to the pattern pieces. One of the advantages of making a jumpsuit is that we can measure all of these things, and when we put them all together, we have a well-fitting garment. You'll find lots of information on crotch fitting and shoulder fitting in the Figure Your Fit book, which is a 64-page book available on our website. It's really handy. It gives you diagrams on what to change and how to change your pattern, but it's not too in-depth. It's a really great reference book to just find that answer out quickly.